Welcome, fellow explorers of the cosmos, to a journey into the heart of nothingness. We're diving deep into the often misunderstood realm of nihilism. It's a philosophy that can seem bleak at first glance, staring into the abyss of existence and questioning everything we think we know. But, like a black hole, it holds a strange allure, drawing us in with its enigmatic gravity. Nihilism at its core is the belief that life is inherently without meaning, purpose, or objective value. Imagine a vast, indifferent universe, and within it, we exist as fleeting sparks of consciousness. No grand plan, no divine architect, just the relentless march of time and the inevitable embrace of oblivion. It's no wonder nihilism can be a daunting concept. To confront the potential meaninglessness of our existence challenges our deepest held beliefs and values. But like any good exploration, it's in confronting the unknown that we truly begin to understand our place in the grand tapestry of existence. Why do we crave meaning? Throughout history, humans have sought answers to life's big questions. We've built grand narratives, religions, ideologies, and philosophies, all attempting to make sense of our place in the universe. These narratives, these stories we tell ourselves, provide comfort, purpose, and a framework for understanding our experiences. But what happens when these narratives crumble? When the stories we've relied upon fail to hold up under the weight of reason, doubt, or suffering? This is where nihilism often takes root, in the fertile ground of disillusionment and a crisis of meaning. It's important to note that nihilism isn't about negativity or despair, though it can certainly manifest that way. Instead, it's a philosophical stance that challenges us to confront the possibility of meaninglessness head-on. It asks us to consider, if life has no inherent purpose, what then? In our modern age of rapid technological advancement, globalization, and societal shifts, the questions posed by nihilism feel particularly resonant. Traditional sources of meaning, religion, community, even family, have been challenged, leaving many feeling adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The rise of individualism, while empowering in many ways, has also led to a sense of isolation and disconnection. We're bombarded with information, yet true meaning seems elusive. It's no surprise that nihilism, once a fringe philosophy, has found a foothold in the zeitgeist. But rather than fearing this philosophical exploration, we should embrace it. Nihilism, at its best, can be a catalyst for radical honesty and self-discovery. By confronting the possibility of meaninglessness, we open ourselves up to the opportunity to create our own meaning, to live authentically, and find joy in the face of an indifferent universe. The roots of nihilism run deep, reaching back to ancient Greece. Thinkers like Democritus, with his atomist theory, proposed a universe composed solely of matter and void, devoid of inherent purpose. These early seeds of nihilistic thought, while not fully formed, challenged the prevailing belief systems of their time. Fast forward to the 18th century, and we encounter the Enlightenment, a period of radical intellectual and philosophical ferment. While often associated with reason and progress, the Enlightenment also sowed the seeds for nihilism. The questioning of traditional authority, the emphasis on individual reason, and the rise of secularism all contributed to a climate where the meaning of life was no longer taken for granted. but it was in 19th century Germany that nihilism truly found its voice. The Romantic movement, with its emphasis on emotion, intuition, and the sublime, also contained within it a profound sense of disillusionment. The failure of the French Revolution to usher in a new era of liberty and equality left many intellectuals feeling betrayed, their utopian dreams shattered. This sense of disappointment and societal upheaval created fertile ground for nihilistic ideas to take root. Thinkers began to grapple with the perceived meaninglessness of existence, questioning the foundations of morality, religion, and even knowledge itself. It was in this crucible of intellectual ferment that nihilism emerged as a distinct philosophical movement. Nihilism versus pessimism. A tale of two perspectives. It's important to distinguish between nihilism and pessimism, though the two are often conflated. While both acknowledge the potential for suffering and meaninglessness in life, they differ in their outlook. Pessimism tends to focus on the negative aspects of existence, seeing the world as inherently flawed and beyond repair. Nihilism, on the other hand, while acknowledging the lack of inherent meaning, doesn't necessarily dictate a negative outlook. It simply presents us with a blank canvas, a universe devoid of preordained purpose. From this perspective, nihilism can be seen as a starting point for creating our own meaning, for forging our own paths in a world without cosmic guarantees. The abyss gazes back. The history of nihilism is a testament to humanity's ongoing quest for meaning and purpose in a universe that often seems indifferent to our hopes and dreams. From the ancient Greeks to the present day, thinkers have grappled with the implications of a world without inherent meaning. Nihilism, far from being a philosophy of despair, challenges us to confront the abyss of existence and find our own answers to life's fundamental questions. Is a journey into the heart of nothingness, a confrontation with the void that ultimately allows us to define ourselves and create our own meaning in a universe that offers no easy answers. The ethics of nothingness. Now, let's delve into the heart of nihilism's ethical implications. Ethical nihilism, sometimes called moral nihilism, throws a real spanner in the works of traditional morality. It suggests that morality, as we often understand it, the ideas of right and wrong, good and bad, are ultimately illusions. Imagine a universe where there's no divine lawgiver, no cosmic rulebook dictating how we should behave. This is the landscape ethical nihilism asks us to confront. It suggests that moral principles aren't objective truths, but rather human constructs, relative to culture, time, and individual perspective. This doesn't mean, however, that ethical nihilism promotes chaos or anarchy. It doesn't advocate for a free-for-all where anything goes. Instead, it urges us to examine the foundations of our moral beliefs, to question why we consider certain actions right and others wrong. If the universe doesn't inherently care about our actions, if there's no ultimate judge or cosmic scorecard, then what compels us to act morally? Ethical nihilism suggests that morality, rather than being imposed from above, arises from within us, from our social instincts, our empathy, and our desire for cooperation. Think about it. We're social creatures, hardwired for connection. We've evolved to live in groups, and cooperation is essential for our survival. Moral codes, then, can be seen as frameworks for social cohesion, promoting behaviors that benefit the group as a whole. Ethical nihilism doesn't deny the importance of morality. It simply redefines its source. It suggests that morality, even without a cosmic foundation, remains essential for human flourishing. We create our own ethical frameworks, not because they're ordained by a higher power, but because they serve our collective well-being. Consider, for a moment, the vast differences in moral codes across cultures and throughout history. What one society deems virtuous, another might condemn. This relativity of morals suggests that right and wrong aren't fixed points in the universe, but rather fluid concepts shaped by social norms and cultural values. Take, for example, the concept of justice. What constitutes a just punishment for a crime can vary widely from culture to culture. Some societies might favor retribution, an eye for an eye, while others might prioritize rehabilitation or restorative justice. The point here isn't to say that one system is inherently better than another. Instead, it's to highlight that even our most fundamental moral intuitions are often shaped by the societies we live in, not by absolute objective truths. This realization that morality might be more fluid than we often believe can be both liberating and daunting. It frees us from rigid moral codes, allowing us to question inherited beliefs and forge our own paths. We become the architects of our own ethical frameworks. However, this freedom also comes with a burden. We're left to grapple with ethical dilemmas, confronting ambiguity where there might not be clear-cut answers. This can be unsettling, but it's also empowering. It forces us to engage in critical thinking and take ownership of our choices. Ethical nihilism asks us to become more conscious moral agents. Living with ethical nihilism. So, how does one live with ethical nihilism? How do we navigate a world where morality is fluid and the responsibility for our choices rests squarely on our shoulders? It's a question that has no easy answers, but there are some guiding principles we can consider. Firstly, embracing ethical nihilism doesn't mean abandoning our moral compass altogether. We can still live by principles of compassion, empathy, fairness, and respect, recognizing that these values contribute to a more just and harmonious society. Secondly, it encourages us to engage in ongoing dialogue and self-reflection about our values. What do we truly believe, and why? Are our actions aligned with our values? This process of self-examination helps us live more authentically and make choices we can stand behind. Navigating a world without moral absolutes. Living with ethical nihilism requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeking absolute moral truths, we learn to navigate a world of nuance and complexity. We acknowledge the subjectivity of moral judgments, recognizing that what's right or wrong isn't always clear-cut. This doesn't mean abandoning our sense of right and wrong altogether. It simply means acknowledging that our moral intuitions are shaped by our experiences, our culture, and our understanding of the world. It encourages us to remain open to different perspectives, to engage in respectful dialogue, and to approach ethical dilemmas with humility and a willingness to learn. In the next part, we'll explore the various branches of nihilism, examining their unique perspectives on the nature of existence, meaning, and the human condition. Now that we've explored the philosophical terrain of ethical nihilism, let's venture further into the diverse landscape of nihilistic thought. Imagine nihilism not as a monolithic entity, but as a tree with various branches, each representing a different shade of nothingness. We've already touched upon ethical nihilism, which challenges the foundations of morality. But there's much more to uncover. From the depths of existential despair to the questioning of reality itself, nihilism offers a range of perspectives on the human condition and our place in the cosmos. Just as a tree's branches, though distinct, are interconnected and share a common root system, so too are the various branches of nihilism, united by a core belief in the lack of inherent meaning or purpose in existence. Let's delve into these branches, examining their unique perspectives and implications. Perhaps the most well-known branch, existential nihilism, grapples with the perceived indifference of the universe to our hopes, dreams, and even our suffering. It's a perspective often associated with feelings of absurdity and alienation, a sense that we're adrift in a vast, meaningless cosmos. Think of Albert Camus' classic novel, The Stranger, where the protagonist, Meursault, embodies this sense of existential detachment. Or consider the works of Jean-Paul Sartre, who famously declared that man is condemned to be free, burdened with the responsibility of creating meaning in a world devoid of it. Existential nihilism doesn't necessarily lead to despair, though it can certainly be a catalyst for it. Instead, it challenges us to confront the absurdity of existence head-on, to find meaning and purpose in our own subjective experiences, even in the absence of external validation. We've already spent some time with this branch, but it's worth revisiting. Moral nihilism, as you'll recall, posits that there are no objective moral truths, no cosmic rulebook dictating right and wrong. Morality, from this perspective, is a human construct, relative to culture, time, and individual perspective. This doesn't mean, however, that moral nihilists advocate for a life devoid of ethics. Instead, it challenges us to examine the foundations of our moral beliefs, to question why we consider certain actions right and others wrong, and to take responsibility for the ethical frameworks we create and live by. Moral nihilism invites us to engage in ongoing dialogue and self-reflection about our values, to live authentically, and to approach ethical dilemmas with humility and a willingness to learn from different perspectives. Now, let's dive into a truly mind-bending branch, metaphysical nihilism. This branch goes beyond questioning the meaning of life to question the very existence of objective reality itself. It suggests that reality, as we perceive it, is an illusion, a projection of our minds, or perhaps even entirely non-existent. Think of the ancient Greek philosopher Gorgias, who argued that nothing exists, and even if something did exist, we couldn't know it. And even if we could know it, we couldn't communicate it. It's a perspective that can leave us feeling unmoored, adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Metaphysical nihilism, while challenging to grasp, can be seen as an invitation to explore the nature of reality itself, to question our assumptions about the world and to consider the possibility that what we perceive as real might be just one of many possible interpretations. Closely related to metaphysical nihilism Epistemological nihilism focuses on the limits of human knowledge. It suggests that true knowledge, objective and certain, is unattainable. We're trapped within the confines of our own subjective experiences and interpretations, unable to grasp the world as it truly is. Imagine trying to grasp the vastness of the universe or the intricacies of the quantum realm with our limited human senses and intellect. Epistemological nihilism reminds us of the inherent limitations of our understanding, urging us to approach knowledge with humility and skepticism. This branch of nihilism doesn't advocate for ignorance or a rejection of knowledge altogether. Instead, it encourages us to be critical thinkers, to question our assumptions, and to recognize that our understanding of the world is always evolving and incomplete. Finally, let's turn our attention to political nihilism. This branch casts a cynical eye on political systems and structures, viewing them as inherently corrupt, oppressive, or simply ineffective in addressing the fundamental problems of human existence. Political nihilists might point to the failures of governments to address issues like poverty, inequality, or climate change as evidence of the futility of political action. They might advocate for a rejection of traditional political systems or argue that true change can only come from individual transformation, not collective action. It's important to note that political nihilism doesn't necessarily equate to apathy or inaction. Some political nihilists might channel their disillusionment into alternative forms of political engagement, such as grassroots activism or community organizing, working outside traditional power structures to create change from the bottom up. We've journeyed far, haven't we? From nihilism's history to its ethical complexities, we've traversed a challenging terrain. It's easy to see nihilism as a philosophy of despair, but like a black hole, its darkness holds a curious allure, drawing us towards deeper questions. Nihilism isn't about embracing nothingness. It's a dismantling of pre-existing structures and beliefs. It's a confrontation with the abyss, both terrifying and exhilarating. In confronting meaninglessness, we find the freedom to create our own meaning. Nihilism can be a catalyst for authenticity, urging us to live true to ourselves. It's a call to action, an invitation to craft our own paths. Embrace the void, explore its depths, and create meaning in a world seemingly devoid of it. The cosmos, in its vast indifference, awaits our stories,